talk to us about the transition into the hemp cannabis. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I had, a friend of mine that I'd known for quite some number of years, and
Okay.
he was in the cannabis space, and I didn't really know much about that at the time. But
Okay.
he wanted to sell one of his grows here in Colorado to a big tobacco company. And given that I was doing, some M&A sort of work, I said, you know what, that sounds cool. Let me go and take a look. So I started to come down here to Colorado, started to help him kind of put that deal together.
I see.
And in that process, that deal never uh, got fulfilled. But in the process, I started to learn about CBD and hemp. And
What
as
year
I'm,
was what year was this?
this would have
Six.
been in 2017-ish.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So as I was, at that point in time, I was trying to learn more about hemp and CBD. And so again, I had my regular day-to-day job, and
Yeah.
on the weekends I would fly out to Colorado. It was very close by, right? So I would leave, Friday afternoon, evening, and I'd come back, either early Monday morning to go to work, or Sunday night.
You
So I had the
basically you
whole
basic you basically started doing the same thing. You had a full-time
the
job.
same thing.
You started the same thing. Are you married at this? Are you married now or no? Still single?
I am now, so that's not happening now. That's
I mean,
but
in 2017, were you married?
no,
Were you
no, I
oh,
wasn't.
oh,
No.
okay. All right. Sorry. So
Yeah.
you start double timing it. You start investigating. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All
And
right.
so it was interesting. On the weekends, I would basically go from farm to lab and kind of learn about the space. And as I was starting to try and put this deal together on the cannabis side, I started to realize myself how unattractive the cannabis deal was, because I was learning more about hemp and CBD
Ah.
and what a upcoming sort of
Hmm.
commodity that was.
Right.
And, after kind of, at some point, it got to the point where I was, um, I was spending so much time in Colorado. I was practically living at the Hilton in downtown. And I said,
Gotcha.
you know what? Okay, obviously there's, a transition here that needs to happen. And, the business from the concierge standpoint too was also becoming, it was less of the concierge and lifestyle business and more moving towards the bank
I,
side of stuff.
I
So it
see.
was a natural sort of transition out.
Okay.
Um, and,
Are you
I
funding?
didn't,
Are you funding the trips and everything? All the Denver
yeah,
stuff. You're paying. That's your own money right there.
it's my own
Yep. Yep.
money at
Okay.
that
All
point in
right.
time. And
All right.
so, when I left the concierge business, I was still living in Utah. And so I basically, I didn't fully move to Colorado until maybe a couple months after, but I quit my job.
Were you dating the
Um,
sister? Were you dating the sister?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
It
All right.
was
All right.
right after that.
All right.
um, but I quit my job, and I was working out of my house, and I had a couple people with me too that were very interested in the hemp CBD stuff. So we were,
Okay.
again, all just kind of working out of my living room at that point in time. And
Wow.
we would make trips to Colorado every couple days. And every time I came back here to Denver, I would see a big influx of orders or other stuff that was happening. I said, you know what, this is probably a sign that I should relocate over there and really kind of focus on the business. And that's what I did. Me and my team, there was maybe 3-4 of us at the time. I
Was it
gave up
an
my,
entity? Was it a company then, or
it
was it just
was,
like a
it was,
project?
it was a company at that point in time. And,
Okay.
it was, like I said, maybe 3-4 of us. I had a big, beautiful house in Utah on the top of this mountain. I gave it up, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Denver with the 3 guys that, were
And
helping me out.
and are they on payroll, or you're just like, hey, well, I'll give you some equity if you help me get this started?
No, they were all on payroll. And, the difference, I would say, between what I was doing when I started up the concierge business versus the hemp and CBD one is that, kind of like cannabis space, it was very lucrative. I was very fortunate, right?
But what were you
So
sell? But what were you selling? Did you have revenue early on?
we did.
How,
We were able
how,
to sell CBD wholesale to companies that were getting, that were actually manufacturing the CBD products.
all right. So right away. All right. Can I take a timeout right there?
Sure.
So early on, ADM Labs, basically, you were going to manufacturers. You were buying. You were buying
CBD.
finished
Yep.
product, but then you were labeling. You putting your own sticker on it and reselling it to retailers.
Yep. Yep. So we
Wow.
start out as a broker, right? And
Wow.
the margins were good enough, like I said, that I was able to take care of my small little team. We all were able to be on payroll.
Wow.
And like I
Cool.
said, we all kind of took that leap of faith because a lot of them were with me in Utah, and we all moved into this 2-bedroom apartment in downtown.
What do you,
And
are you like putting little stickers on the little bottles in your apartment?
oh, it
I'm just,
was all of us. We were all sitting there. We had, like the face mask, the goggles. We were,
are you
sticking
serious?
stuff.
That's so
Oh
good.
yeah.
That is so good.
And
That's so good.
it was really,
You're buying the raw, not raw. I guess it's finished product. I don't know how you would describe it. What do
well,
you,
yeah, it's the raw CBD, which comes in like oil or powder form, and then we
oh,
would sell it to manufacturers who, would put it in their finished products like the bath bombs and stuff you see on the shelf, right?
okay.
And
Okay.
that's how we started, right? So we started like everyone else in the space, kind of being a bit of a broker.
I
We
see.
didn't we didn't have a big office space when we first started, so we literally would use the conference room in the in the building that we were renting an apartment in, right? So we would use that conference room every single day, and eventually it got to the point where the team got so big. I was like, guys, there's like 7 people in this apartment, like working during the day. I was like, we can't
we
like,
can't,
why don't we just get a little office,
yeah, yeah. Now
And
who are you selling? Who were some of your early clients, your early customers? Like, who were you selling? Who was the end buyer?
so they were other manufacturers. So they were basically what we turned into. So the companies that were manufacturing product or
Okay.
that were wholesaling, also people that were making all of like the creams, the moisturizers, stuff
Okay.
like that,
Okay.
they were the ones buying the product. And so as a broker, early on, we had basically, with all this time going back and forth to Colorado, we had built this big network. Again, just like the concierge space, right? We built this network of connections. So if somebody was looking for a certain type of hemp or CBD raw material, we would find it, we would procure it, inspect it, test it, put our label on it, package it, and get it out to where it needed to go. And we were basically a one-stop shop.
Okay.
And when we finally got our own little space in a warehouse and we were kind of co-packing stuff, that's when we started branching into the manufacturing side of stuff. Because now we had warehouse space, started to get equipment, started to hire lab guys. And then we started saying, well, hey, we don't need a broker anymore. Now we'll go and we'll make it,
But
and
those machines to make it though, those are expensive, right? Now it's a big investment, I'm guessing.
oh yeah, yeah. And we were lucky initially that we, while all of this stuff was happening, we were lucky enough to be able to actually get a little bit of seed investment. And this was,
Ooh,
so that's another thing that set us apart from, what I initially did in the concierge space, where that was, completely grassroots and we
yeah,
never had any
yeah.
investment.
Hmm.
This one was grassroots too, but, I'd say maybe 6 months into kind of the whole venture, we were lucky enough to have some investors that believed in us. And we took them around Colorado. We showed them what we were doing,
Okay.
and we got a couple million for our initial seed. And that made,
Ah,
as you can imagine, a huge difference. Then we were
oh
able to
man.
start manufacturing. There weren't 3 guys, 4 guys living in one apartment, right? It was a little better. So
And what do and I apologize if I don't use the right verbiage here, but you buy the hemp in biomass and then you put it in and then you make the oils and everything else, right? Is that
cool.
accurate?
Absolutely. Yep. That's
And
that's basically how
are you making just your own products, or are you making you're labeling other people's products too?
So ironically, we actually don't sell much of our own product on the shelf.
Okay.
We were always, we started out as a wholesaler, right? And that was kind of our niche. So even right now, we white label products for a lot of the other brands that you see
Okay.
out there on the shelf. So
Okay.
we white label for them, or we provide the wholesale stuff that goes into those products. So you're not going to see an ADM Labs, cream on the shelf, so to
Okay.
speak. But what you will
Okay.
see is a lot of our clients, and we'll white label those, creams or moisturizers or what have you.
And is that because you just don't want to get into the set? You don't want to be a consumer goods company. You'd rather be a wholesaler, manufacturer, or what's the vision now? Yeah.
Well, initially that was the case, but right now the way that this whole industry is going is CBG, right? And so, we do have a couple of different brands now that we manage that, they're not ADM Labs, but
Okay.
they're different brands, 3 separate brands. One is a CBD honey brand as well. And
Okay.
so we basically manage those as our retail brands that are out there to the public.
I
And then we
see.
have our wholesale company that still does a lot of the B2B stuff.
I see. But the wholesale company is still the bulk of your overall business.
Right now, but I think 2020 is going to be a year that really changes things with the regulation that's coming in the industry and everything else. I mean, a lot of people in the space really are moving towards consumer packaged goods, and I think that's kind of the future of this space.
Have you thought about have you thought about investing in your own farms or your own fields or anything like that, or actually growing hemp at all?
We did. Unfortunately, with the state of the industry right now, hemp has really been, with that big CBD boom last year,
Yep.
it's kind of been overfarmed. We've seen
Ah.
prices drop by like 80-90% on the
80,
raw
90.
materials.
Oh, whoa.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's not been a great year for farmers, unfortunately.
I see.
There's just been too much. I mean, the interest has been great, but I think the demand was severely overestimated on the farming side.
I see.
So you have a lot of people that threw money into large farms, a lot of first-time farmers who unfortunately didn't know how to grow hemp. And so there's a lot of biomass out there that's sitting there, but the main bottleneck that we still see is there's still not enough people that are processing it through that kind of value chain all the way to the finished goods. So we prefer to be on this side of the supply chain, closer to the finished goods, as opposed to in the beginning.
Interesting. I wondered if you were going to start driving down I-25 in Colorado and see massive hemp fields everywhere. I live up in northern Colorado. There's lots of farmers up here, especially in the little town I live in. And I would ask some of them down at the little tavern down here. I'd be like, "Hey, so are you going to start growing hemp?" And most of the farmers I talked to were careful and watching. They were like, I don't know. Let's see. They were kind of had this like, yeah, we're looking into it, but we're not gonna.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, it's I think that the space in general, as we move away from the CBD wave, right? I think you're going to start to see hemp be grown like it is in China right now for textiles, for other sort of, let's say, non-ingestible sort of goods.
And that's where the huge money is, right? I mean, that's where the future is. I mean, the future is not the little tincture bottles that come on.
Correct.
That is a tiny piece of the hemp business, I would think.
The applications elsewhere are massive. And so I think while unfortunate, the correction on the hemp market is something that needed to happen, but that's also one of the reasons why I'm not on the growing side of stuff. Plus, if you can't tell, I'm not really built for manual labor. More of a numbers guy.
I'm curious, real quick. By the way, so right now, if somebody wants to create their own brand in hemp, they can call you. You'll help them figure it out. If
Absolutely.
I wanted to make Riderflex hemp, I could call you and you guys could take care of it.
Yeah, we could white label your own line, tinctures, topicals, ingestibles, whatever you want.
What if I'm a farmer and I got 4 truckloads of biomass I need to get rid of? Should I call you?
Well, at that point, we probably wouldn't be buying it from you, but what we could do is we could help take it to some of the other derivatives like the oils and powders, help you kind of make a return on it.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else that people should call you for or that you want to highlight real quick for the podcast recording? And then I want to ask you a couple of more questions about cannabis. But just anything else with ADM Labs?
Just, retail hemp products, white label. Happy to help you guys out with that.
Okay. And that's adm-labs.com, by the way, for all the listeners. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.